Awesome. Okay, so I just want to good morning, good evening, you. Today, I want to talk about a topic that I was actually talking to my coaching clients about, which is about being a negative sponge. Okay, we all know what a sponge is, right? A sponge is you wipe out dirt and it sucks up the dirt, right? If there was a spill, you would wipe it out on your kitchen or whatever. So I could visualize like a dirt spill and then you wiped it. Do you know that we could be emotional sponge, negative emotional sponge? And remember, a sponge just sucks in, right? It just sucks everything in. We could do that with people that are toxic around us. We could do that with social media. Whatever your energy goes, they said your focus goes where your energy goes. So I think for me, what I've realized that some conversation that I may have that are not healthy with somebody else that may not be healthy, I kind of justify myself by saying, well, no, maybe the person is venom. They're spitting out gossip or they're just being extremely negative about somebody else or just not good, right? And you know, you've been in this conversation and then you might justify yourself going, well, I'm just trying to be there for them. If I don't listen to them, no one else will listen to them. You ever tell yourself that? There's some things that are happening while you're doing the listening. First of all, the sponge that I was talking about is whenever you're connecting with somebody that's not in alignment with you, and that might be anger, whatever they're going through, and you're trying to quote unquote save them, you are taking on a part of them. You're sponging. And even when you're going on Facebook, you're focusing so much on the negativity, or it could be Facebook, it could be social media, wherever you're doing, you're grabbing onto that. It's on you and you're thinking about it. And then you wonder why you're ticked off, wonder why you're looking at people weird, because what you're thinking about, you walk about and you be about. So the toxic sponge is there, and that sponge is your heart. So guard your heart, because that is the wellspring of life. So there's three things that starts to happen when we are around this negative environment or negative toxic people. We tend to get angry afterwards, and then we tend to be sad. And you wonder why they were angry and sad after a conversation that they had. And I asked the question, why are you angry? And they said, I don't really know why I'm angry. Well, as I kept asking questions, the anger came from violating their own boundaries. They were angry because they allowed themselves to soak up so much negativity, and they allowed themselves to violate and to be violated with words, emotional manipulation, or whatever. And it could be that in you. That was the first thing, that anger that they felt. The second thing is they felt the grief of maybe having to say, you know what, maybe this is not the right friendship for me. Maybe this is not the right group for me. Maybe this is not the right message for me. When you do that, you tend to put a distance, a gap between you and dysfunction. And when you put a gap between you and dysfunction, it could trigger a fear of abandonment. So that causes grief. The grief that you violate your own boundary, and the grief that somebody else violated your boundaries in the conversation, right? With the toxicity. So the two people that you're mostly angry with is yourself and other people, that the grief that they gave you, right? So grief, conflicting feelings that's caused by a change of something you're used to. It's not just death, right? That's grief. So if you're used to trusting somebody and you're used to connecting with somebody, all of a sudden they change on you and there is no more trust, or they used to be this good person and then all of a sudden they turned around and changed, or something that happened. We tend to also take that very, very personal as well. And we make it about us versus about them. What I want to talk to you about, just a couple solutions to deal with this, okay? Number one is you got to squeeze out the toxicity in that sponge. Remember, the sponge is your heart. So when you're taking on so many things on a daily, right? So to squeeze that out, that means you have to be open. You got to be open with what's going on in your heart, because if you're not open, it will come out. It won't come out good. So the squeeze is the openness. The squeeze is to share all that grief that you're feeling. That's part of it. Another part of it, to squeeze that toxicity, the resentment, all that negativity that you got, is forgiveness. Two things. Forgive you, because anger came from you violating your own boundaries within the relationship. So you got to forgive yourself. Let go of that resentment, right? And forgiveness is not condoning. It's just letting go of resentment, right? So it's letting go of resentment, and resentment is killing you, right? And you heard me say resentment is drinking a poison, hoping the other person dies. That doesn't work. So that's one. Forgive other people. You got to let go of that resentment, because if you don't forgive them, you'll hold on to them. Remember that. And you may say, no, I don't have them in my life. No, they'll show up with a different face, a different relationship. And you'll say, why am I repeating this relationship? Because you still haven't forgiven the last person. You're repeating, because the lesson of life keeps repeating itself until you learn it, right? Lastly, you want to do is you want to create a gap between you and dysfunction. I talked about that. The longer the gap between you and this dysfunctional person, the more healthier you'll become. Why is that? The longer you step away from dysfunction, the more healed you're going to be, the more functioning you're going to feel, the more you're going to see yourself, the more you're going to see what the perspective of that relationship is. But when you're in it, it's really hard. You can't really see it. I've been in very coachable, dysfunctional leadership relationship where I did not see it and other people saw it until I broke away. I put a gap in between me and the person. Then I was able to see everything. When you're in it, you're too close. So those are the few things that I'm going to just drop on you today. I'm going to wrap this thing up. Again, put me, and you could join my Discovering Your Authentic Self. We could connect and talk. With that, I want to thank you for watching, and I want to thank you for listening. And then please do comment and share it. This has helped you, or if you know somebody that's becoming a sponge, a toxic sponge, right? So you wanna send them this so they could squeeze that toxicity and not be a part of the cycle of dysfunction with those people, whoever they are. Hey, sometimes it's us. Sometimes we're the people. Sometimes we're spilling out venom, and other people are sponges around us.